it's Lisa. I have a 2-photo sketch today using 4x6 photos, and it's going to have a pocket so I can put quite a bit of journaling on this. There's a long story that goes with this, and we're going to slip it down into the pocket. We may put just a little bit of journaling on the top next to the photos. My first thing is to figure out which papers that I want to use, because I really only need 2 just pieces of paper. I need the background, and then I need a fairly large piece to use as a mat for the photos and a place to hold that journaling. So I'm looking at my photos here, taken outdoors on the river. This was summer before this last. And ooh, I like that. That looks good. And I could do, yeah, I really like that, I think. I want to be sure that the die, I'm going to use this rather large silhouette die cut that I purchased some time ago specifically for this page and just haven't done it. And it has some lake kind of images, so I want to make sure that that's going to show up. So this blue paper here, I think was my first pick, but I'm not so keen on that because I think that the die cuts are going to need to be blue and they just wouldn't show up. So I think we'll knock that one out right away. Really liking this combination. This is Simple Story Summer Vibes and an old piece from Basic Gray Bow Ties. I only got a couple of pieces of that. I particularly wanted the blue and green because those are kind of hard colors to find sometimes. So I think we're going to do it this way. I hadn't thought about it that way before. I kind of figured this would be on the back, but I think I like this. So we're going to do the wood grain, and then we'll put this bow ties paper on the back. I've had a long time. I don't mind using that whole sheet. If I wanted to really preserve it, of course, I could cut part of it out and piece another paper in there, but I don't really feel like I need to do that for this. I got plenty of paper these days. So we're going to trim this down, and I've shown stitching on the sketch. Now you could do different things. You could put tape there. I probably will just go ahead and stitch it because it's one of the fastest things to do. But as I say, I could do some tape. I could do hand stitching. Lots of different things to secure this down good so that the journaling stays in place. And I want to leave enough room up there at the top for the title and plenty of room down here at the bottom for the design. So let's see what our sketch shows. My sketches are always done if you print them out 6 inches, so you just take whatever's there and you double the size. So this is supposed to be 10 inches by maybe a little more than 10, so roughly a 10 by 10 size there, and then we'll trim that down, and we're going to be going off to the silhouette to do some work here on the title. Part of the title will be part of this whole die cut that I've got, but I want to add a little bit more additional title to match it up at the top.
To get this ready to go to stitch it, I'm going to use some binder clips to hold the papers together. And then I'll just stitch around the edges. Okay, I'm in the Silhouette software, and I've gone ahead and brought in a design called On River Time that I got from the Silhouette store. And there's one of these that's sort of all pulled together, and then there's one in pieces. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to get it sized the way I want it before I ungroup it. So let's see, I'm going to turn my grid back on because I had that turned off for something else. And I'm also going to go and add under my own designs, my grid markings. I had a separate video on doing this some time ago, because putting the little markings around there, and that way you can see exactly how big things are and where they're placed and all that. All right, I'm going to take my design here and I'm going to scale it down a little bit. And I'm actually going to pull it down here because it's going to end up on the very bottom of my layout. So I need to see kind of how it's going to look. 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches. And this part going over, that would actually end up, I think, a little bit into my photos if I'm not careful. I may have to cut some of this out of vellum or something so I don't end up with my photos getting overridden. But I think that's probably a good size there. I don't want to get any bigger than that. I don't want it to take over too much. Well, maybe just a tad bigger. but I don't want it to take over too much. Okay, so that's the right size. So now with that in mind, I can right click on this and ungroup it and take this one away out of my way here. And then the other pieces, I'm going to be moving them around and cutting them out of different pieces of cardstock or designer paper. What I'm interested in showing in the video is this on river time, and we're going to move it up here at the top to make it a little bit easier to manage. So we'll just move those other things down for the time being and zoom in. What I want to do is to create a little continuation of the title. That on river time is going to be on the very bottom of my page. I'd like it to say at the top, getting or ready for on river time. I thought about saying getting ready for, but that is a little bit of a long title because these are all cap words, and I want to create something that matches. So I'm going to put ready for. Now, to do that, I need a font that's similar to this. I have no idea what font this was originally created with. I've gone through my fonts, and the Impact font is sort of close. It's close enough that I can do it and have it match this design. So let's go to the text tool, and in all capital letters, ready for. And then we're going to select this and go down to Impact. And let's bring it over. It doesn't have quite those little curves on the R's, but that's okay. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay. And now we have ready for. Now if I wanted to, I could take this apart and take those R's and make duplicates of them and switch them out for the ones over here. That would be another option. I could take the text and it's grouped. Actually, it's a compound path. What I would have to do is use the option release compound path. If you can't ungroup something, sometimes you can choose release compound path and separate it out. It's not always an option, but sometimes you can. And then you have the individual pieces. And you can take those and do a Control D to duplicate. Now I would also have to catch the middle of the R as well. But I could take this and I could substitute out the R's and the E's and certain letters. I've decided not to go through all of that for this process, but that's just another thought on how you could do this. If you use the Silhouette for titles, check out my titles and text class. We do a lot of things with titling, all kinds of features. We go through what the compound path means and how it's used, and do a lot of really cool things with our titles. Now I'm just going to delete that little extra R there, outline of an R, because I don't really need it for my purposes. I just need to make sure this is a similar size and it's about the right height. I think it's a little bit, letters are a little bit bigger than they need to be. So I'm going to bring them down just a little bit. Okay. All right, let's zoom out here some and see how that's going to look. Ready for, and then we're going to have this whole thing, which I'm going to put back in its compound path for the time being and move it down there at the bottom so I have an idea how that's going to look. And I think that's going to work out right. Fine. It doesn't, you wouldn't necessarily have to do this all the same size. That's just the look that I wanted. All right, let's go back to ready for, and to make it really look like what's on the bottom, I need to select it and use the offset feature. So I'll come up here to offset. And let's do an offset for this. And I could adjust the size. I think I'll change it to 0.1 and apply that offset. And that's going to put a border around all of the letters that I can cut in a corresponding color. So I have ready for, and then I have the offset. And sometimes I change the colors of these, especially if I have multiple levels of them, to make it easier to see what they are. But this is ready for me to cut in different colors. I'll split this down and start cutting these pieces out in different colors, and then we will assemble our page. Now I have everything cut out on the Silhouette. I have sewn around my pocket. I'm just going to go ahead and attach my photos down. And then start pulling some things off the paper here. This is a new mat with a new blade. This stuff is really stuck down good. I used cardstock for those offsets and the actual letters. But I used designer paper from 6x6 pads for most of the rest of it. And some of it was so tedious that it's not, you're going to see it doesn't come out all that great. For one thing, I cut one of those white, or accidentally tore one of those white pieces of cardstock up there because of the new mat. So I end up recutting one of those. That's okay. Very often with something this detailed, there's usually something I find I have to recut. Didn't work out with the paper, or in this case I didn't get the paper quite in just the right place. This blue bit here, I don't have a lot of that vellum. So I'm just actually going to trim that down manually with scissors to deal with the fact that I kind of cut part of it off. But it was this green that I ended up having. That was the green, and that one piece of white was really the only thing I had to go back and recut. Because the green, some of the green stuff came out okay, and a lot of it was just so fine it ripped. So I went back and cut it in cardstock, and it came out a whole lot better. And I had some paper that looked like rocks, so that I could cut my rock out of it. It looked really good. Now this is, say, I'm just going to manually trim around the edge. It's just supposed to be water. It doesn't have to be a perfect size for that. And then we'll glue those things together with some zig marker.
Okay, we're just about to finish up this page. I'm going to put some journaling, a little bit of journaling here on the front. Most of the journaling is going to go in the pocket. There's a really long story that goes with this. The children were fine. They got off the river just great, but my husband ended up spending the night out on the river and not well supplied at all. So it was kind of a hairy evening for him. I did not know about it until he was rescued, or he sort of rescued himself. But anyway, it's become a little bit of a legendary story, so we need lots of room for the journaling, and that will go down in the pocket. Just using some washi tape for decoration here since these photos are secured down. Now when I do all the journaling for the pocket, I want to put a tab at the top. So I've pulled out a couple of papers here from my 6x6 scraps, and I think this one would look really good. So we'll use that, but I won't attach it to anything because it's going to go in the paper for the inside. He's actually going to have to write the story. I've heard the story so many times I could probably do it myself, but I think it would be better for him to write this up because it's really his story to tell of what happened on the river. So anyway, what I did with these is I went ahead and I recut the white that went behind 4 since I had torn that, and I recut this green in cardstock, and I saved a little bit of what had been done in designer paper, and I used my zig two-way marker to put that down. Now, not all of it is perfectly glued. This is adhered with some Tombow, so it's not going to come off, but it's just sort of, you know, loose there, and they're going to be fine inside my album. And I just trimmed the edge of this down rather than recutting it since I didn't have a lot of that blue what's it called, transparency, vellum left. So anyway, I've got a cute page using a silhouette die cut and our pocket and lots of room for journaling, 2 4x6 photos. And we have a sketch for this one. This will be part of the 2015 sketchbook, and I am very excited because I think, if I've counted right, this is my last video with sketch for the year. I do have a few more sketches to create for videos that didn't have a sketch already done for them. We did the whole page, but the sketch was either hand-drawn or just sort of in my head. So I've got some work to do, so the sketchbook probably won't come out until the middle of January. It will have a fewer sketches than last year just because we've had a really, really hectic year here, and it's a rather long story also, so I won't get into all of that. But I've got 40 sketches for you this year. It'll be a little reduced price than the past years, but I think they're a great collection. I got a lot of 4x6 photos, a lot of 2-pagers. There are some 1-photo sketches, but there are a lot more that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos per page. So there's some really great options for you, I think, in your scrapbooking. So look forward to that coming out in a few weeks. And thank you so much for following all my videos this year, and I look forward to doing more of this in 2016. Thank you.